name is Jason JROCK Houston, and you're listening to Categories Magazine. We can be found on the web at www.categories.com. And our special guest tonight is EX FOGHAT Bassist Jeff Howell. And Jeff, you're being interviewed tonight for our On the segment, on the record segment, which is where we talk to musicians about some of their favorite albums that really influenced you. And I noticed, like a lot of guys and musicians these days, you made a list of like your top 10 or 20 albums, and you included on your list Queen's Sheer Heart Attack, which was like the third Queen album released on November 8th, 1974. And so let's start the interview off, if you don't mind, Jeff, talking a little bit about why you included that on your list.
Why did I include Queen? But gosh, there's so many reasons.
Yeah.
You can't overlook them.
Yeah,
I don't care if you hated them back when they were the Queen in the day. You knew they were there. I'll elaborate further about everything in a kaleidoscope. But right now, I'll focus on your question.
Sure.
Because at the age I was in high school, which are our formative years as young men and women, trying to figure out just who we are and whatnot, where we want to go, and people leave you the hell alone, you might be able to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I was always into music, and the rock and roll bit me definitely, and it's just a timing thing. And when Queen came out, it was just, to this day they stand alone.
I will agree with you there, and even so much to the point, I think that is why Queen has been able to carry on with Adam Lambert. Let's be honest, nobody's ever going to replace Freddie Mercury.
No.
But kind of like
but you want to know, this is what you're absolutely right. Who's going to replace Freddie? And the answer is no one. No one is going to replace Freddie. I can only imagine. How high you fly, how far you fall.
Yeah.
Sure, those guys got money in the bank, but they got a pain inside them in an empty spot that hurts and will never be filled.
But
that's no fault of anybody to come. Now, this is what I say because of the famous bands I played in.
Yeah.
You cannot replace a ghost.
Yeah.
And when someone's dead and martyrized, or in Freddie's case, oh my God, the first of so many.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the first of so many. It's what it is. It's the force to be reckoned with.
Oh,
I think that's what it is. Queen never fell from grace because they never put themselves in the trenches. Queen still carries on with her chin so high, and it's not arrogance. It's not arrogance. You have arrogance when you're a young man.
Yeah.
And you should. Or you're not doing the young man thing right. Trust me about this. But having said that with some chuckles, they held their head high. I thought, and I still think, and I always will feel, George Michaels would have done an excellent job at the helm. It wasn't the time. It was too soon.
Possibly.
Looking across the board, Adam Lambert, you're not going to find anybody better unless he's under a cabbage leaf somewhere. He does a stellar job. I love how they bill it Queen with Adam Lambert.
Yeah.
Now, I happen to know some guys that played in the band.
Oh, wow.
On the previous tour, I think when Paul Rogers was with them.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And
wow.
So I know a little bit about Queen from the other side of the equation that most people don't know.
How cool is that? Wow.
It's cool, but it's also brutally truthful, and it isn't the prettiest thing you want to hear.
Oh, wow.
So if you want me to tell you a few things, I will.
Sure.
Let's get back to the album.
Yeah, but I'll tell you about Sheer Heart Attack. It's an interesting choice because, who hasn't heard, Killer Queen, Stone Cold Crazy, but then I was listening to some other kind of rare tracks. Like I love the ballad Dear Friends. And what's interesting about
this is funny.
Uh-huh.
I got up this morning and I pulled up the album. I pulled up the songs and kind of went blew the dust off, so to speak.
Yeah.
And she keeps them away. That by itself.
Yeah, and it's funny.
No one had ever done anything like that in this world. It just never happened. And then I'm going to tell you why Queen worked.
Yeah.
And his name wasn't Freddie Mercury. His name was John Deacon, another bass player that's so overlooked, underrated.
Yeah.
He wrote their only #1 USA hit.
Another one bites the dust. Yeah.
No, John Deacon wrote "You're My Best Friend."
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
Now, that wasn't their biggest song. That wasn't their slow ride.
Okay.
Bohemian Rhapsody was Queen's slow ride, if you will.
Okay.
In regards to Foghat, and chances are, when you would see them live, they're not going to play it first.
Yeah.
I would put 50 cents saying they're going to play it probably last.
Wow.
This is what we do. We build to the climax. It makes sense. When I played in the Outlaws, you build up to Green Grass and High Tides right after Ghost Riders.
Wow.
You left the stage. The place was going nuts like shark feeding time. They knew what was coming. They knew what was coming. And 40 years later, they were never bored from it. You go out there and start those first opening notes to Green Grass or Roger Earl and Slow Ride.
Wow.
That's all it took. People knew it was coming. The same with Queen. The same with Queen, with Freddie going boom, boom, boom. The place erupted.
Yeah. And you make a very good point. Like Killer Queen, that was nobody's really done anything like that or since. And like kind of when you hear that for the first time, it's not quite rock. It's almost kind of bordering on vaudeville or even like opera.
Well, the beautiful thing with them, it's like having a male Bette Midler. It's campy.
Yeah.
Freddie was very cabaret.
Yeah.
Freddie was very mime. Freddie was very theatrical.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
Amazing. It's tough to say Queen wasn't beneath Freddie. But really, had he lived, Queen would have been a stepping stone, and he'd have gone on.
Yeah.
What he was doing, but I think he always would have been in Queen, kind of like Mick and Keith.
Yeah.
Bill Wyman, he retired from the Stones. The guy's my mother's age. He's 82 years old.
Wow.
But you know what?
Yeah.
He will always be a Rolling Stone, first and foremost, flat out. I don't care who's playing. You step aside.
Yeah, it's almost like if you watch the Queen movie, they kind of touched on that where Freddie briefly kind of tried to leave Queen and go on his own, and they all saw they were much better together,
Well, they were better together, but it's Fred, like I said, from my understanding, he really wanted to do other things. His flamboyancy and his campiness. So back to, they were very cabaret-ish, but they were very, very symphonic too.
Yeah.
Now, what Brian did painstakingly with all those guitar harmonies that sounded just so lush. You could do much easier today with technology, but the fact that he did it, pulling a team of horses with analog, God bless him. And the thing that really, getting back to Sheer Heart Attack, Queen, why did they weave into the fabric of what it took for me to be me?
Yeah.
Because I was a tuba player, and I'm symphonically, I was theorized. I mean, tuba was what I played. Wow. And so, Queen, when you hear John Deacon, or whatever he's doing, he's extraordinarily nice. He goes, you listen to that stuff. Now, 90% of people may not hear it. It bites me so hard, I got teeth marks.
Wow.
Because I listened for it. And once again, I'm saying, you take him out of the equation, forget it. Yeah. Sure, would it have worked? Probably. Would have been the same. Hell, no. And it's like John Paul Jones from Zeppelin.
Yeah.
And sure, you got the Glimmer Twins. God bless them. But you take that guy out of the mix, fellas. You better start going mow his yard and tell him you're sorry.
Yeah,
I've lived it as a bass player, and this is not a gripe.
Yeah.
It's actually it baffles me.
Yeah, and John Deacon is a very interesting cat because of the four guys, he's kind of like the most quiet. He most shy. He didn't do too. He every once in a while would do an interview, but not as often as the other three guys. And even since he's kind of retired from the music scene, he's
retired from public life.
Yeah.
He's made his money.
Yeah.
He like Steve Perry. Basically, comes out and says, "I never really was allowed in. I was the last one to really join.
Yeah.
And I never really felt like the other three took me in."
Yeah. Wow.
Now, this is the sad thing that a lot of people don't think about, and it's probably good they don't think about it.
Yeah.
Or else they wouldn't be buying concert tickets and foaming at the mouth to see their favorite bands. But their favorite bands are backstage, and there's a 50% chance they're all but in a fist fight, arguing and screaming over a can of hairspray or something stupid.
Yeah.
They're human beings.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing is like Queen back in the day when they first started out, they a big thing. I know that they wanted to be fair. They would split the songwriting royalties, and then later on, each guy kind of wanted to have his own song, and kind of they weren't so willing to share. But that was later on, you know.
You know, I'm the first one to be. It's a we, not a me.
Yeah, yeah.
Right up until there's nothing in the little pile that should be in front of this one of the we's. And I say that jokingly, and it boils down to money. And we're talking that money. We're talking astronomically large sums of money. And it's, you know, money changes everything as the song goes.
Yeah, yeah.
And it doesn't mean it's for the better. You know, and sometimes, you know, these guys are all passionate.
Yeah, yeah.
But sometimes passion isn't pretty.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so I'm not, you know, I mean, life is bittersweet, and then we die.
And you know,
get what you can, and be good to people, and you know, and get on with it. But at the age of 15, when Sheer Heart Attack came out, and I heard that, you know, that led me into the world of Queen, and just I love the haircuts, the whole rock stage, the androgynous / Bowie kind of vibe look to them too. It was all cool for me. Yeah,
yeah, and you know, it's kind of interesting, Jeff. Like you said at the top of the interview. Oh, are you kidding me? Why did I choose? You know, why did I include Sheer Heart Attack and Queen? It's kind of like the point I was trying to make with Adam Lambert joining the band. I think people are very accepting it because kind of like what you're saying is Queen in this case. You know, they are like this part of a soundtrack of your life, or I'll even say it's part of a soundtrack of my life as well. And on that note.
People won't let these bands go because of what you just said. I've lived it. I see it. Songs are forever.
See, that's it. The songs that become, you know, the landscape of people's, you know, lives, and the songs that become actually bigger than the band. That's why these songs are so well written. They're such great classic songs that if you could get a decent enough guy like Adam Lambert, people will come to the show because they want to see Roger, they want to see Brian, and the songs are kind of. It's hard to believe I'm saying songs are even, I think, in a way bigger than Freddie Mercury because, again, they're paying tribute to Freddie by continuing to play the music, and the fans love these songs so much that, I want to go see those songs played in concert.
I joke about things. All these years later, I look at people when they talk to me like you or whatnot, and I just sum it up like this, and I'm very, very, very humble, and there's a lot of reasons for that.
Yeah.
But I say this, careful what you wish for.
Yeah, you just may get it.
Careful what you wish for. It might come true, and then what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And you know, and all of a sudden, it isn't a dream come true. It's just you're on the other side of this thing, and this picture just opened up in front of you like Pandora's box, and I can tell you this, fasten on and hold on, because you don't want to fall off this ride.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt.
And you know, in reference to Adam Lambert, it's interesting because I do think Adam Lambert is a lot more closer in style to Freddie Mercury than, let's say, Paul Rodgers was. You'd think,
oh my God, Paul Rodgers was a friend. Paul Rodgers is incredible with Bad Company, not with Queen.
That's the point I was getting ready to make. Initially, when I heard Paul Rodgers was going to be joining Queen, I thought, oh, that's an interesting idea. But I was really surprised that it did not seem to work, but the fans are more accepting.
But you got to understand. Let's go back to the human side of the coin.
Yeah, yeah.
The Brian May that stands on stage and holds that guitar.
Yeah.
Not the Brian May we look at with fucking admiration. Pardon my language.
No, that's cool. Yeah.
He's a human being.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he had it. What do you do when the greatest singer on earth is dead and you have to replace him? You wake up every morning. You going to dwell on that?
No.
Well, at some point, something's got to happen. Yeah. He and Paul Rodgers are very good friends.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when these legendary musicians
get together,
they age.
Yeah.
And when you age, your tolerance, your nerves, your patience, they shorten. Yeah. And the last thing Brian May probably wanted to do at that point of his life was audition a frickin' singer. So he made some phone calls, got a buddy to do it. I'm being light about it because I'm not on the inside. But I bet you this, I put money on me.
Wow.
Because I'm pretty sure these are human beings. They want to go out and play. They deserve to play. Yeah. That's just horrible.
Yeah, and see, and at that point, they hadn't toured like since 1985 or 1986, and enough time had kind of passed where Freddie had passed on, and they didn't want to just look like they were trying to cash in, I guess, on his death. But by the time they did get somebody and go out there, like enough time had kind of passed,
That's true, and they did it with dignity. They didn't get back on the horse, get a bad booking agency. Next thing you know, Queen's playing at the local bar on the corner in your hometown, like a lot of these great bands of yesteryear.
Yeah.
And I see both sides of that coin.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's that one coin.
Yeah.
Even if there is two sides. So that's what I'm saying is Queen always kept their dignity, their grace, they're recluse. Mm-hmm. They win like a wounded bird, like a dog that's been hurt.
Yeah.
You go away, you find a dark spot, and you're gone. You just disappear.
And the thing with Queen, they never totally really went away. They just stopped touring for a while,
They did a lot of stuff. Brian did that solo song. Freddie pushed him to do it. Everything I Do Is Driven by You. And are you familiar with that song?
I had to check it out, but I've heard some of Brian's solo stuff, but not that one in particular. I have to go get a listen later.
To me, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. I know for a while Roger Taylor was trying to put together a world tour like these Pink Floyd experience groups where there's 32 and a half people on stage.
Yeah.
And they sound just like Floyd, but they're not.
Yeah.
But they got the global budget, and you see them on PBS TV. I'm not knocking this, so I don't mean anything
Yeah.
tone.
Yeah.
I just mean it in the large kaleidoscope.
Yeah.
That, dude, if you put a turd in a Tiffany's box, you're going to sell it.
Yeah, and
it's all packaging, it's all marketing. This is Jason, I'm just joking, but I think so. And I think that with that the Queen could never go wrong no matter what they did. It's just what can they do that makes the band seem like it has some sort of growth layer to it.
Yeah, and it's interesting, like talking about Sheer Heart Attack, because if you even look at the album cover, and this album came out like 1974, but the whole band is like, there's a whole band photo. They're like right next to each other, like all four guys. You feel like you can feel the unity coming through, and people kind of. I need to remind people that in 1974, when this album came out, I mean, vinyl's recently making a comeback, but stuff was a release like on 8-track. You get stuff on vinyl. You get stuff on cassettes. They didn't quite have CDs yet, but that was a few more years down the line. Back in the day, you'd go to your local record store and you'd be able to pick the stuff up. In modern day, people want to get everything online, and I'm not even going to buy the whole album. I'm just going to get like the latest single. But I mean, back in the day, going to a record store and seeing what was the new releases were, it was an experience back in the day. I think you might agree, Jeff.
I do agree, and it's interesting to take that just one step further. I was one of those guys that always dug what song 3 on side 2 was.
Yeah.
If it wasn't their hit, and so I always liked the different songs. And I would do that. I mean, so you take an Aerosmith album, for instance, the first song, okay, it's so cool, man, dig it. But then as the song plays on, there's one I hadn't heard. Yeah. So this is it's all good. But you're right. There was an experience to flipping through the albums and all of that, and you're right about the vinyl. I don't think it'll ever really come back like it did, because that's all we had back when we had it.
I'll tell you a funny story about it. I've interviewed some guys, and they were sharing with me that I don't even have a turntable, but I'm starting to collect everything that comes out in vinyl. I can't even play it, but you know what? Just to have it, just for a collector's thing, and that's kind of funny to hear. But that's kind of a state of the world these days.
Well, here's something, like the seed bank. I gotcha. Yeah. Now, here's something interesting. In 2010, around that time, I had got back with Foghat for a spell, and I actually did a CD with them.
Oh, okay.
And it's interesting because, a lot of these legendary bands, Queen, not one of them, but up until recently, they stayed retained with the original memberships, and or if they didn't, so they kind of fell from grace. Yeah. And they would have 20, 30 different players go through through on the bass. Listen, quit, whatever the case.
Yeah,
the music moves on, the people don't. But my time slot with the Outlaws, I did 3 CDs with them.
Oh, wow.
And probably the dozen bass players before me and the dozen bass players after me did not.
Wow.
And, it's timing. You tell me. I think I know why.
Why is that?
But I'm not going to get we'll just let it worked. It just worked.
Interesting.
Comfortable with myself. And in 2010, it was the same thing with Foghat. I did a CD with them.
Wow.
But what I'm getting at, the whole point of this is back to vinyl. The CD I did in 2010 with Foghat that climbed the blues charts because it was much more like early Savoy Brown.
Oh, wow.
There were no slow rides on this CD.
Yeah.
There were no Fool for the Cities. It was purposely done because Roger, the drummer, it's his band, wanted to do, kind of like back in Savoy Brown, who I also played with several times, with Kim Simmons. So he hired me. I mean, Raj and I are tight friends. So many times I've been in and out of that band. And when I went back, but they put that on Virgin Blue vinyl. So out there it's called Last Train Home.
Okay.
It's a Foghat CD. Yeah. And you can get it on. It's a 2-album set. It's beautiful. Cool. I've got a couple copies, but I've never opened them.
Oh, wow.
And they will stay that way. But it's a Virgin vinyl is what the records themselves are. Yeah. So it's top of the line, and it's a 2-album set.
Yeah,
the CD I did, 2 albums. And it's really interesting, on that CD was John Lee Hooker's guitar player, an 86-year-old man named Eddie Kirkland, who's a blues legend.
Oh, wow.
He's passed away. Yeah, he came down and did some songs with us on that CD. We did it in Florida over the wintertime. It's easier to walk around in flip-flops.
Oh, yeah.
But no, it's neat when you can find some bands so I only went on that tangent, elaborate on what you're saying, that you try to find the vinyl, so.
Yeah, it's interesting mentioning Foghat for a minute, because they're one of those bands that you were kind of talking about at the top of the interview. I mean, interesting thing about Foghat, most original guys have passed on, and the drummer Roger, I've interviewed him a number of times, super sweet, nice guy, super down-to-earth guy, and just a nice guy you're ever going to talk to. But he's like the sole original member, so that's why, like you said, he's kind of a de facto leader of the band. And people, when they hear Foghat, right away, like you said, the song that comes to mind is "Slow Ride, Take It Easy." They even get dubbed as like a one-hit wonder, but if you're really a diehard fan, you know there's more than just that one hit. I'll tell you.
No, it's because it wasn't just a hit; it was a mega hit.
Yeah.
And some bands get those. Some bands get a few of them, but let's just say "Slow Ride" was an albatross.
Yeah.
It was. I know the history behind it.
Yeah.
I know who really was the person.
Yeah.
It was basically done with Todd Rundgren at Bearsville Studio through Rundgren, and most of it was a bass player that slipped in and out named Nick Jameson. Nick was the real brainchild behind Slow Ride. He didn't get credit, and Roger got absolutely no writing credit. That was purposely done maliciously.
Wow.
However, no, I mean life's ugly.
That's just the business,
Sometimes things hit hard, but you're right. They had a lot of great songs, and you're right.
And see, what's interesting about that is, like, Foghat, very much like we're talking about Queen, is one of those bands that, even though, Lonesome Dave and all these other original guys are no longer with us, and Roger's the sole original guy, the songs are so great that's why they'll still go see a band like Foghat, no matter if they're playing, a local state fair, if they're playing the local arena or the local club. But people love those songs so much to this day. And again, most people, "Slow Ride," that's the song that comes to mind. But I will tell you, tell people about some of their deeper, like kind of deep cuts that I really love. Like that's what I was gonna say. Tell Plain Blues. I'm surprised that wasn't a bigger hit. I mean, I love that song.
I used to just rattle that thing when I played it.
I mean, to me, you listen to that, that's as fast paced as like Slow Ride. And then I also love like the cover they did of Buddy Holly's "That'll Be the Day That I Die." They do a great cover.
We did a lot. I remember we were. I I had gone back to Foghat. I had done I had done a tour with Savoy Brown, I think.
Oh, wow.
And I just got back from Europe, and I ended up back in Foghat. And I'm glad I did, because we ended up playing up in Alaska, and I had never been there. That was cool. Yeah. And we also played one of the biggest shows I ever played in my life, 110 plus thousand at the Salt Lake City Equestrian Center in about 92, and it was Carlos Santana headlined.
Oh, wow.
And it was Bachman Turner, the original Jefferson Airplane with Papa John.
Oh, wow.
He was there, and I saw Mrs. Papa John sitting side stage and knitting in a rocking chair while he was out there. Dude, that hit so hard. It's just, I mean, you want to talk the human side of the coin?
Yeah.
And there he was on stage playing Somewhere Over the Rainbow for 140,000 people. Freaking mesmerized.
Wow, yeah.
It was the moment. But here's the funny thing. Foghat, they were known for doing really, really revved up covers of these great songs.
Yeah, another one of my favorites is Maybelline. I heard their cover of it, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, one that we were doing was their remake of Take Me to the River, the Al Green song.
Oh, wow.
And if you've never heard it, it's on the Night Shift album, and it sounds just like Peter Gunn.
Oh, wow.
And it's really cool. Long story short, one of the roadies would come out and play congas on it. Huh? And in the middle of the song, it breaks down where it's just the bass pumping, boom, 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 and the drums and the congas. It was like you might as well have a bone in your nose. Yeah. It was so tribal. It was gorgeous. And I'm looking out at 110,000 people. Beautiful day. Yeah. And just, they had extended sound system. It was humongous. And this place was going ape shit. Because of how tribal that groove was. If you listen to it, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So I go off stage, right? Check this out. I go off stage, and it's hotter than sin, and I sweated real bad, and I run to our trailer out back, or dance. That was your dressing room, and it's locked. Yeah. Well, I beat the tour manager back there. He hadn't got to yet. right at that moment, Jack Cassidy from Jefferson Airplane walks over and taps me on the shoulder and says, "That was absolutely amazing playing."
Wow.
Now, I've had Leland Sklar, another bass guru legend.
Yeah.
The one that looks like Gandalf. Yeah. He introduced me to Tim Bogart. These are legend bass players.
Oh, yeah.
I drink beer with John Entwistle at the Rainbow Room.
Oh, wow.
And the same night, I watched Meatloaf suck down a chili dog. It was kind of funny. One of those people things. He had played next door at Trax, I think it was, and he had Pat Thrall on guitar with him in those days. And I had a couple nights off, and I ended up at the Rainbow, and Entwistle was in there holding court.
Oh, wow.
And I ended up, how lucky is that? So if nothing else, man, I've met some legendary bass players that were my childhood heroes. I saw Chris Squire. I was 2 feet away from him.
Oh, wow.
Play every note right before he died, and he is the alpha omega with me. He's where it started with me as bass player. And then when I heard Geddy Lee, which was more like me.
Yeah, wow.
But with the symphonic and with the luster that Chris Squire. Yeah. So that's why when I got in Foghat, that's how I got these gigs. You know what I mean? And I'm going to tell you the truth, and this goes back to Adam Lambert with Queen, and not to get far from that, because that's fun to talk about. He's honest. Yeah. You can't bullshit people. Yeah. People know honesty, and they know when it comes to their favorite bands and their favorite songs, and who's this guy that isn't that guy I like that died. Yeah, they want to know.
He's a cynic.
And the only thing a person can do is be as good as you can, but be freaking honest.
Well, like he's a cynic. He's a cynic, and what I mean, I seen this interview special they did like a couple of years ago on TV. It was on ABC here in Los Angeles. Anyways, and he was talking about, hey, I'm honored to get up on the stage with Brian and Roger. I'm not here to replace, Freddie. I can never do that. I'm here to fill his shoes, kind of, and I'm honored to do it. And you could tell he's really doing it, kind of from the heart, and that's why it works, And getting back to like what you're saying about Freddie and Queen and kind of being honest. See, back in the day when Queen was first breaking out in the early 70s, here's an interesting fact. Most people probably think, because Queen is a British band, I'd be surprised to learn that Freddie is actually not from England at all. He's from India. The other three guys were British. And he kind of, if you saw the movie, he kind of allowed people to think that he was British too. Like, he didn't want anybody to know where he was from back in the day. he wanted to come off as a British rock star or whatever. And the other guys were kind of uncomfortable because back in the 70s, you really didn't want to talk too much about being gay or bisexual. But Freddie, kind of the way he dressed, he came with the idea, hey, let's call the band Queen. The other guys weren't too happy about that at first because he's like, okay, they're going to start asking why is the band named Queen.
Talk about Spinal Tap, smell the glove stuck in your face. No, he did.
Yeah.
But he did it with flair.
Yeah, with a flair, like he wasn't too flamboyant.
He didn't do it in a seedy manner.
Yeah.
He wasn't trash.
Yeah.
He did it with flamboyance and grace. And to me,
he kind of left people wondering. It wasn't so much like a Boy George where, okay, there's no doubt about it. But and he never would really. The funny thing is he never really answered a question, even up until like the day before he. And it was interesting because the day before he announced he had AIDS or that he was suffering from that, and then 24 hours later he died. But the funny thing is when he first came out about having AIDS, 24 hours later he died. It's almost like he had it planned, and he kind of admitted, well, yeah, this is what I've been dealing with. But he up until the very end, he never really answered that question. But it was obvious.
It's I mean, I don't know. It's just I've experienced things, and I think other people. I think every human does in their own way.
Yeah, and
where something comes from left field.
Yeah.
And it's not pretty. And it slams you, and it is something to be dealt with at that moment. It's all you can deal with, and it might be something you deal with the rest of your life.
Yeah, and it
might be something that shortens your life. And then no one saw this coming. Those guys didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
Freddie didn't see it coming when he was having his flamboyant parties and soirees.
What I respect about the other guys, though, is they also respected Freddie's privacy. And if you watch that movie, kind of like the band toured up until 85, and then Freddie kind of, after Live Aid, kind of tells the guys backstage, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. And they kind of just accept it, that we're not going to be able to tour for a while. We're going to keep making, music. They never outed him or anything. And what's interesting is I read where Freddie Mercury and even Roger and Brian were saying that it's funny that the British press always treated them much worse than press anywhere else around the world. And, that was their home country.
That they were the same way with Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
This is what I say. Jesus couldn't preach in his hometown.
Yeah.
But it worked everywhere else. The expert can't be you. Because your neighbor knows you. The expert's the guy from out of town that charges twice as much and knows half as much.
Yeah.
This is, why is life this way?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's just the world.
I'm no different.
Yeah.
I say it this way, Jason.
Yeah.
I don't shit where I eat.
Yeah.
So I live where I live, and I don't try to be around here walking around
judging others
like I'm ready to walk on stage.
Yeah.
I hide it. I do what I do. I live life. I have my granddaughter with me today.
Wow.
And life is life.
Yeah.
I've got my own battles I fight that are health.
Yeah.
And they're not pleasant, but I try to keep my eye on the prize. And if that means I limp to the grave, well, then that's just what the Almighty had in store for me.
Yeah, I hear you.
I try to find solitude and survival tactics in helping others and being there for others and doing for others. And having a band. And having a band means it's a we, not a me. There
you go. And, getting back to Sheer Heart Attack, another song I kind of want to bring up is there's two other songs that really stand out to me on here. Now I'm Here, that's kind of over the top, and it's like, kind of, you look at the video, just listen to the song, it's kind of like the band has arrived, we are here, And then I also love Stone Cold Crazy, because at that point in Queen's career, I mean, that was kind of the heaviest track I think they ever did. That was as close as to like a heavy metal song I think they ever got to.
Yeah, that was, and it's interesting, you're right, because at that point you're going, where are they going? Where are they going? All of a sudden,
you just look from
figured it out pretty quick.
You just look from Killer Queen to Stone Cold Crazy. I mean, it's from one end of the spectrum to the other, like almost to vaudeville to pure blown on metal. And
it's interesting. By the time they did Night at the Opera and A Day at the Raisins, I don't know about you, I was just absolutely flat mesmerized. Yeah. And there was a lot of great bands, dude. When I grew up in the mid-'70s, those days are forever gone. but I'm forever grateful because some of the best music that still leaves impressions in people carries on to this day. If it wasn't for the 70s, that band Darkness would have never came out of England.
Yeah.
And they were very much into the 70s glam image. I think it's fantastic.
I love the music from that time. Like you said, it was the best. And, you know, like as much as I love Led Zeppelin, you know, and I appreciate what they did, like I lean a little more towards, as far as the British rock, towards like Queen and even Deep Purple. You know, Deep Purple is one of my all-time favorites. I mean, I love what Blackmore and like especially John Lord did. You know, that's why I tell people, when you say keyboards suck and they don't belong in you know, rock music, you just look at what John Lord did with Deep Purple.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting because really, in a silent way, paralleling him was Rod Argent. The keyboard player, you know, Rod Argent was very that way too. He was overlooked because of Deep Purple's commercial success, and but they all went to the same school, if you will. You know? Keith Emerson and Rick Wakeman, whole different ball game. But for that, that Hammond organ, two Marshall stacks, he knew how to do it.
I heard him, even John Lord talking in an interview where he said, "Oh, people call us like you know, pioneers of heavy metal." I don't know if I'd say that. I'd say maybe we were the grandfathers, or we were there in the very start. But like even you look at a Deep Purple song, like something like Speed King or Highway Star, that's got little elements of metal in there, you know.
It's certainly where it came from. It's got that. It very much, you know. I mean. So you take. Let's just go right to the. Let's just jump to the juggler vein. Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, flat out. And the reason for that is because they really wrote their own stuff. Led Zeppelin was not respected in England from the players at all because they took songs like the Lemon Song, which they did not write. And they said they wrote it. It says Page Plant. No. Let's look back like at Lead Belly, or one of these guys over here actually wrote the Lemon Song. Squeeze the lemon till the juice runs down my leg. I don't believe Robert Plant wrote that. So amongst the British rockers, and I'm going to tell you, Kim Simmons from Savoy Brown, who was, you know, revered. In the early 70s, they ran England.
Wow.
That's how big Savoy Brown was, buddy. And that's back when Peter Green was with Fleetwood Mac. That's back when Fleetwood Mac was a whole different kind of world. And those bands despised Zeppelin because of how they would bastardize the American black man's music. That like the Rolling Stones, you know, they were just totally, you know, Chicago blues fans, Muddy Water fans. They would do a Muddy Water song, but they wouldn't say it wouldn't say Jagger Richards after it.
Well, that's why if you listen to like you know, Whole Lot of Love, or you know, song Rock and Roll, people think of that more as like what Led Zeppelin, or even like the song remains the same. But a lot of those earlier albums, like you're definitely right, Led Zeppelin was originally based around the blues, which I don't think too many people are even aware of.
Yeah, well, so is, you know, it's like Jethro Tull blues band. Ian Anderson used to play a harmonica. And Tony Iommi actually played in Jethro Tull, I guess, for short. But when I read the book, I thought that was just absolutely. I'm trying to see that work. It was interesting. I've met Martin Barr a couple times over here stateside, and he's amazing. And if you ask me, he was Jethro Tull. I love Ian Anderson. But those two together was Tull. And what Anderson did basically after, 50, 60 years, said, well, look, Martin, I'm going to let you go. And what Anderson does now is he goes around. Ian Anderson does the music of Jethro Tull. That's his way of legally getting around the loophole.
Well, Ian Anderson, too, I mean, he was unique in that, let's be honest, there's not too many other rock bands, you know, led by a flutist, but it's very, very unique for what they did, you know.
He was charismatic, but the riff, the cool rock wasn't him. It was Martin. You know, so I have a hard time when people get the shaft. I have a real hard time with that. And I have advocated for the underdog my whole life, where I can tell you that there's times it hasn't benefited me, but you know what? It was the right thing to do at the moment, so to hell with them.
And let me ask you, on that note, Jeff, like when you joined Foghat, for example, you weren't only bass player by that time, had been in the ranks of a band. So, is there less pressure coming into a situation like that where you can kind of get up on stage and play the songs and kind of put your kind of spin or your little influence in the songs, or is it really important as a bass player to you to kind of like stay as true to the way the guy originally played it on the track?
Okay, so you split hairs. First of all, you never want to be complacent.
Yeah.
You never get up there and say, this is just a free ride and all I got to do is play what's on the record.
Yeah, I agree.
And even though that's what people want to hear.
Yeah.
People hear with their eyeballs.
Yeah.
And there has to be something to let you know, hey, I enjoy what I'm doing. Hey, I'm loving what I'm doing. And look at,
Yeah.
It was a blind man could see when I was in Foghat.
Yeah.
I wasn't the same age as those guys. They go, "Who's that? Roger's son?"
Yeah.
And sometimes you'd almost want to throw something at you.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm gonna tell you this. After the second song, that's not how they felt anymore.
Yeah.
And by the time the slow ride was done, it was just like, dude, you absolutely, and this didn't benefit me in Foghat.
Yeah.
People would come out to the meet and greets, and all four of us would be sitting there. This is as recent as 2015,
Yeah.
and they'd just run over to me.
Yeah.
And I'm flattered as hell.
Yeah.
And I was doing these gigs very, very, very ill, very ill.
Wow.
And I've got things I keep hidden that but trust me, and it makes it hard. It's like trying to live life with ball and chain around your foot.
Yeah. Well,
But I did it, but what I'm getting at is I loved it to the point that your soul shine comes out. You wear your heart on your sleeve, and you let the people know it.
See,
They can tell you're not going to fool them. You're not going to fool people.
Yeah. See, a band like Foghat, it's kind of, I put it right up there with a band like Lynyrd Skynyrd, in the sense that these bands have been around so long. Like take Skynyrd, for example. They've suffered through so many tragedies. I mean, the plane crash, and then been other members after that, one by one dying. I mean, and then other guys coming in and take their place. It's almost like, we're still out here playing the Skynyrd tunes. We're doing it for the family. We're part of the team, and it's kind of like almost like a football player. One guy gets sick, we get another guy and takes his place, but we're waving the Skynyrd flag. We're doing it for the fans. We're doing it for 40 years or whatever.
Doing it for the money.
Yeah.
Because when you're middle aged, getting into your 60s,
Yeah.
and this is what you have always done, and you're not an original member, you keep your mouth shut. You're thankful for what you have because it may be your last ride.
Yeah.
And these guys will probably keep doing these farewell tours.
Yeah.
Now, I don't mean anything like that slightful. I mean it painfully realistic.
Oh, yeah.
With their family, everyone, this and that, blah, 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 right on down the line. They got a great fan base.
Yeah.
Medlock tried to get me in Blackfoot twice.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Yeah.
I got stories. I almost went with Robin Trower instead of Foghat. Ace Frehley kind of was scouting me to be in his Ace Frehley band.
Oh, that was
but there's more to all of this. It's kind of comical, actually.
Wow.
I stayed in the Outlaws because at that point I had done 3 albums with them, 3 CDs, and I consider that vested interest. And I was flattered. I stayed put.
Now I got to ask you real quick, because I seen that the Outlaws recently released a new CD. Are you featured at all on that?
Oh no! Anything that's new with the Outlaws would be with no original members.
Okay.
It would be with Henry Paul, who was very visible with the group from the day.
Yeah.
At one point a few years ago, they had one of the original drummers back, Dave Dix. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's still with them. And listen, I don't talk a lot about my Outlaw time, but when I was with them, I was in it with Huey Thomason.
Oh, wow. Another Skynyrd.
He was the deal. I stood next to Huey for 3 years.
Oh, wow. Rest in peace, Huey. Yeah.
No, I'm going to tell you something. I played with a lot of great guitar players. I played with Savoy Brown. There's Kim Simmons. He's a blues guitar legend.
Oh, wow.
Now, I look over the fact that these guys see something in me.
Uh-huh.
I'm a person, get up in the morning and whatnot. We all do this. But I size them up too. Roger Earl,
Wow.
rock legend.
Yeah.
Rock legend drummer. he didn't have me around because he lost a bet.
Well, like I said, I've never met Roger, but a few times I talked to him. I mean, you just can't help but like the guy. Even talking to him over the phone, he's like, "Hey there, how you doing? Huh? Good top of the morning to you."
You know,
Yeah.
he knows what the word dignity means.
Yeah.
He treats people with dignity. He is a very good people person, and if you got a problem with Roger, you just got a problem.
Yeah, and it's like you were saying, you know, you meet the guy, and I could see in your experience like saying, "Oh, he's a rock legend." But after you get to know him, it's kind of like, he's my friend or he's my bandmate, you know, and you're like, yeah, and then he's also a rock legend or whatever.
You know, my first year in Foghat was like the movie that was called My Favorite Year with Peter O'Toole.
Okay.
If you're familiar with that movie.
No, I'm not, but I'll have to check that out.
Well,
Yeah.
Peter O'Toole is ever so dashing and flamboyant and elegant. And he's kind of like a has-been actor. And this guy is hired by the movie studio to protect this guy and stay with him to keep him from hurting himself.
Okay.
And Peter O'Toole and Roger Earl are the same effing guy.
Oh,
there's so much charisma and class and regalness about this man's character that, you know, the rock drumming thing.
Yeah.
You know, Roger walking in the room and go, "Hello, my dad," and these chicks just melt. It's just his natural charisma.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I'm equating it to my first year in Foghat. I roomed with Roger.
Yeah.
I saw the good, the bad, the ugly of his personal life.
Yeah.
We know each other very
deep.
well.
Wow.
You know, and these are human perks that long after you leave the band and the lights have dimmed and the carnival leaves town, you got that memory.
And you can still pick up the phone if you just want to say hi, huh?
I just texted him happy birthday, May 16th.
Oh, wait, that's cool. Hey, well, let me ask you, as far as like your time in Foghat, being a bass player in Foghat, how important is it for you to like be in sync with the drummer? I mean, what was it like you and him as a rhythm section together?
Roger is an interesting drummer. I worked well with Roger, and I'm not. I think the proof would be asking other members of the band, even if they couldn't stand me. You know, the one thing I could do is I could hold Roger in the pocket, where some of the more known bass players that were with the group in their heyday, they kind of sped up like Roger. Roger could easily come out of a drum fill and because he's so excited and take off, and the meter could speed up. Next thing you know, the song. No, not with me. I have a lead foot, and I know how to hold the drummer, and the guitar players knew it too. So when I went back with them in 2010, after Roger called me, I flew into some place, St. Louis, I think it was, and we had a rehearsal in a hotel room with no amplifiers, electric guitars, and Roger was beating on a phone book. That was our rehearsal.
Yeah, see, I think too about Foghat is they're just a great live band, great band, period. And I think like Roger really knows what Foghat is. I mean, I don't think we'll ever see, as interesting as it might be to see, you know, Foghat goes unplugged.
Well, you know, no, I did that with the Outlaws. Well, we actually, the Outlaws was very good. We actually got on a bus, and one year we one tour, in summertime, whatever. We were supporting the CD, and we actually went around the country just hitting radio stations like JROCK in St. Louis. You know, we did like, was it the Mike and Tom or Mike and Dave show out in, way back in L.A. in the day. And that's what we did. We just rolled into town on a bus with our acoustic guitars. And we go in, and the drummer be banging on whatever hell pots and pans, you know. And I usually took electric bass and just some small.
Yeah, I do like, you know, when bands do that and, you know, and get all acoustical. I mean, one of my all-time favorite bands is Tesla, and I just love that acoustic album they put out, like 30. It's called you know, five man electrical jam or something like that. And that's the one with Signs, and then they just celebrated the 30th anniversary. They came out with a new acoustic CD with some of their later songs and a new version of like Signs, and man, it just sounds amazing. And you know, some bands, you know, it can really do that. And I think the point I was making is I just you know, as much fun as stuff like that. I don't know that like Slow Ride acoustically. It might be interesting to hear it and just you know, to kind of wrap it up. I remember like a few years ago when Foghat was like celebrating the 50th anniversary of the song Slow Ride, and Roger went in with the guys he had at the time, and they did a new version of that, and kind of an updated version, but it's still Slow Ride. 50 years of Slow Ride, you know.
Yeah, it's funny, when I joined the band, no one was doing that funk solo in it. They went right past it. And, they went, the rhythm is right. And there's that real cool studio funk solo on it that no one ever played. It was never on any of the original live albums.
Yeah.
And so I remember after I got the gig, I was in Boston. That's where I got the gig in the 80s. And we're rehearsing. And we finished Slow Ride. I remember... we're just having a little pause, a break, and I'm looking at Roger. I go, Raj, fantasy song.
Yeah.
I go, how come you guys blah 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 don't do that?
Yeah.
And he's like, because no one can play it.
Wow.
And I go, you mind if I give it a whirl? And he goes, yeah. So he would literally get up and applaud me up behind his drum set after I did it.
Oh, that's good.
I play that famous Nick Jameson funk solo. The song needs it. It's a cool part of the song. Play the damn thing.
Yeah.
That's me being mad at
That's a great story. Wow, I wasn't even aware. And let me ask you, if you don't mind, Jeff, like what you talk about some of your previous gigs, like Foghat and the Outlaws, but what are you doing musically these days?
So, I was always in very good bands.
Uh-huh.
I was always a quick study. I got into a real good regional New York State band back when the drinking age was 18, and there was a lot of what were called self-contained production bands.
Okay.
Meaning, this is a club band that had its own music, did covers, and had a 5-piece road crew, 2 mobile homes, a truck with 10 ton of gear in there, the biggest light show in New York State.
Wow.
We own this. And there were a lot of bands like this, because the drinking age in the early 80s was 18. And we would go from Maine to Miami.
Yeah.
Then the drinking age started going up. I left that band. I immediately got in Savoy Brown. Yeah. That was when I jumped into the bigger stream. When I hooked up with Kim. That got me up into, that was a feeder stream hitting the bigger river.
Okay.
And this is taking me through the current, just to give you an analogy. That, when the time came for me to audition for Foghat, and Roger gets, Roger, of course, Foghat was Savoy Brown back in England.
Oh, yeah.
And so Roger, the minute he played with Kim, did he? And that's all he needed to hear. And we got this bass player, you're gonna love this kid, man. He played with Kim Simmons. And that was it. So it didn't hurt.
Yeah.
To get the Foghat gig,
but
there was also 30 or 40 other bass players, and truth be known, I just looked at him and said, "You guys might as well just go home."
Yeah.
Because half of them played so bad, I was embarrassed for them. Needless to say, I nailed the gig, and I nailed it because I have heart and conviction.
Yeah, yeah.
And Roger knows that, and to this day he knows it. What am I doing these days? Well, it's weird. I never would have saw the Outlaws. But I spent 3 years and 3 CDs in the Outlaws with Huey Thomason, and I still get emails from people saying those are the most underrated and my favorite Outlaw CDs Huey ever did.
Oh wow!
And that's yours truly playing the bass.
Wow, wow!
So it's bittersweet life,
Yeah. And do you think there's ever a chance that you might get that call to go back? Do you think you might ever get a call from Roger? Hey, we need a bass player for Foghat, or can you come out?
That's behind me. I don't need to do it.
No,
I've done it. And if I didn't, which I wouldn't, it's not Roger. Roger's in my heart, always will be.
Yeah.
There's other layers to the onion, if you will.
Yeah.
And I just don't like the way they taste, so we're going to let them be.
I hear you.
But you got to understand, too, that not being in those groups benefits me still, just like being in them.
Oh, yeah.
Except I'm not out touring and doing a brutal.
Well, I mean, let's be honest, Jeff. I mean, when I never really was aware of who you are. Okay, but I was looking stuff up on Facebook. I came across your page. It said, and I'm like, and then first thing jumps out, former bass player Foghat. Wow. Okay. And then I reached out to you. Oh, okay, so that's who this guy is, and that's how we got this interview today. And I'm glad I did, because I tell you, not only did you give a real good interview here, Jeff, but you're real easy, a lot like Roger, real easy to talk to and real down to earth. And I enjoyed it so much that I'd love to do a follow-up interview with you one day, because just, as they say, there's so much to talk about, so little time. We
could go on for hours. It's a people connection. Unfortunately, with this COVID, what did it do? It puts everyone on the same playing field.
Yeah, I mean, just think about that for a minute too, because I mean, they're shutting down all live performances right now, and you know, out here in Los Angeles, where I'm from, the governor's out here like, well, you know, we really haven't had as bad as even New York, but they're like, you know, in Los Angeles, like, well, I don't know when we're going to open up concert halls. I don't know where we're going to let live bands start playing out. You know, it might not be till next year. We might not.
It probably won't be. There's a global there's a global weirdness going on right now. Everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Everybody sees it. I see people with paranoid, like just freaked out looks in their eyes as they got snorkels and masks on their face.
Yeah.
You know, I live upstate New York.
Yeah.
I'm up there. I live in what's called the Finger Lakes, which is where Cornell University is. It's beautiful where I live.
Yeah.
It's also New York cold, and the COVID is very much real.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm not doubting that. I seen, especially in New York, I seen it on the, you know, TV. It's just kind of interesting when you kind of stop and think what the world has become. I never thought we'd be living like this. I mean, let's just think too for a minute. Who would have thought in 2020 the big commodity would be toilet paper?
You know, it's the first thing I thought to myself, Jason, was, is the future here already? Meaning that, you know, it's like everybody probably kind of thought, well, we're just one bacteria away from something going bonkers.
Yeah.
Sure, here it is.
And it's,
you know, I got my
world.
own take on this coronavirus, its origin and all of that stuff, but I don't want to get into it.
No. We'll leave it.
Because it actually parallels my personal health battle that I fight.
Oh, wow.
But these days, what I did is I spent 2017 traveling with a guitar player that won a Grammy.
Oh, wow.
Because he was with Johnny Winters for a while.
Oh, wow.
And I met this guy because I'll get phone calls and I'll get invited up to like New England.
Oh, okay.
And they call me up and they go, you got 25 minutes on stage, get out there, do 2 Foghat songs, and do Green Grass and High Ties, but the girl from Saturday Night Live, Christine Ullman's going to come out and sing it with you. Meanwhile, I'm up there with John Caffrey and the Beaver Brown Band, members of Jay Giles. I had Rod Stewart and Joe Cockney's guitar player.
Oh, wow.
And I had Joe Perry and Gary Burton, the jazz legend, his drummer. So I go up there because I'm Jeff, who used to play with Foghat.
Yeah, and there's...
I go up there and I front. I'm a lead vocalist, and I do all those songs, and people go bananas.
Now again, like you said, people know you.
I've become quite good friends with Barry Goodrill, the lead guitar player from Boston's first 2 albums.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's taking me back.
Oh yeah. So you know, it's not like things are terrible. And here's something funny. The last show I did with Barry was at a country club that Bobby Orr, the famous hockey player, owned.
Yeah. Wow.
It's kind of cool. You just don't know.
Yeah,
but these days, I got my own band. You can find me. I got 2 CDs. I'd love for people to purchase them from me. I got merch for purchase. It's Jeff Howell's Boogie Du Jour. And Roger absolutely loves the name.
Well, I would tell you this, Jeff, before we part our ways today. I would love to. I'll reach out to you when we get done with this today, and private message you. But I'd love to purchase one of those CDs and kind of so I could hear it for myself, and then maybe that would be a good chance to do like a follow-up interview, kind of specifically about what you're doing now.
Absolutely. So if you go to YouTube and Google my name, there's some other guys out there. There's some other guys out there that have my name.
Wow.
It's funny. Except the guy's a real big southern country western acoustic guitar player.
Okay.
But we got the same name. It's just the way life is.
Yeah.
On YouTube are videos of me and my band Boogie Du Jour.
Okay.
And if you go to my page, it's got all kinds of merchandise, got all the backstory. But what Boogie Du Jour does, if you were to see my band live, we do handful of Foghat songs.
Wow.
We do a handful of Savoy Brown songs. We do a handful of Outlaw songs.
Now let me ask you.
Throughout the evening, I do a handful of my own songs.
Wow.
So it's a collage. It's kind of like a 3 tribute bands rolled into one.
Yeah.
But it's not a tribute band because I was a member of these groups.
Yeah.
2 of them I'm on Wikipedia from doing product.
Oh, wow.
So, to tell you the truth, Jason, it's kind of a quagmire. I'm like, well, how in the hell do I book this band?
Yeah. Well, I guess you could book them with the band name and just say this is kind of what we do, and these are the songs. But like the CD you have, like you said that you sing lead on. How would you describe that? Like kind of like rock, blues, or?
Oh, definitely heavy. And most of anything I do is going to be hard drive and raw blues. I mean, it's I stand on the shoulder of giants.
Yeah.
If you will, as the saying goes.
Yeah.
And I was taken under the wing of Roger Earl.
Yeah.
I was taken under the wing of Kim Simmons.
Not bad company to be in.
I wasn't so much taken under the wing of Huey Thompson because he was a whole different cowboy.
Yeah.
And I say that jokingly, the outlaw guitar player, but I'll tell you something. Nobody played guitar like Huey.
Yeah.
Huey picked like Albert Lee.
Oh, wow,
like Jerry Regnall's old Burt Reynolds movies. I mean, at 1,000,000 miles an hour. It was all open, flat pick.
Yeah.
Huey was, he grew up in Roanoke.
Yeah.
He had hillbilly blood in him. And I'm telling you, he could pick guitar.
Oh,
and
wow.
I mean this with admiration.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
mean it with any kind of...
I can hear it in your voice, yeah.
I mean, if that's what it took, or the drinking water work, pal, because he was that way. But so my music reflects those bands. I was a Yes freak.
Oh,
I'm a Getty freak. I love funk. I love European prog metal. If you've never heard of these bands, I love Yanni.
Oh, wow.
I love Jean-Luc Ponty. Love Jeff Beck vintage. So I usually don't listen at the house with stuff I play.
Oh, wow.
But my CD and my music is a little bit heavier than Foghat.
Yeah.
But if you listen to the new CD, you will certainly know which song reflect which bands, because there's songs on the Bon Appetit CD that I wrote for Foghat.
Oh, wow.
I never gave to them.
Wow.
There's a song I wrote for Savoy Brown. It's called Hard Road to Easy Street. It's a lot like Hellbound Train.
Yeah.
So, I guess in my own way, I pay homage and I carry the torch.
And in reference to what you're doing now when you get up on stage, before like in Foghat you were a sideman, you're the bass player, but how much do you enjoy being up there and not just playing bass, but being the lead singer as well? With my band. Yeah, I understand that.
With Foghat, I just had a great time. I did all the harmonies. What do you want me to sing, the high part or low part? It doesn't matter to me. I'm good either way.
So I guess
what you want me to sing, I'll sing. And with me, I was never the kind of bass player who could put a green light on and put him to the back of the stage.
Okay.
That's not me. Call somebody else. Because I hit the stage like there's a fire going on. I have a great time. It's all, once again, I said it earlier, I think people hear with their eyes. That's not too sloppy playing.
No.
But when people see you up there having the time of your life and smiling, it's pretty infectious.
Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, even like being in the audience and seeing the band up on stage, you can't help but get off on it. And these days when you're up there and you're playing those Foghat songs and the Outlaw songs with these other guys, I was kind of like in case of Foghat, do you sing like Foghat songs from the band's entire career, or do you try to focus on the the album that you were featured on?
I do that. It's funny you mention that. Unless it's canceled, because right now there's no
live shows.
No gig this year. But as the year marches forward, the gigs are going one by one. And so right now I have a gig that is not on the chopping block yet because of the coronavirus. It booked, and it's July 24th. It's a Friday night. It's at a real cool place just outside of Rochester, New York.
Oh, wow.
And that's a Friday night. And the next night, Foghat plays.
Oh.
So it's ironic. I won't play any Foghat music that weekend. I'm only going to play one Foghat song.
Okay.
And it's exactly what you just said. It's when I co-wrote with those guys in 2010 called Born for the Road. It's the opening song on Last Train Home CD.
And I think that's cool that you do that, because obviously it highlights your time with the band, but I mean, people would naturally expect, he's going to play slow, but like if you know who, for example, I hear guys like you that played with famous bands, and then the band, when they're playing with the band, they want to play all the classic stuff and not even stuff off the latest album. And it's like, so it's great to kind of remind your fans that, hey, there's this little album I did with these guys, and this is what that song is off of,
The Foghat songs I play. So if I wasn't doing the weekend, I do a 90-minute set.
Yeah.
And to truth be known, I only do maybe 5 Foghat tunes. I try to spread it out. Slow Ride, Wanna Make Love. There's a gazillion versions of them.
Oh, Wanna Make Love to You. That's one of my all-time favorites. Yeah,
we do Drive and Wheel. We do Take Me to the River.
Yeah.
We do a real beautiful song that I could never get the guys to play when I was in the band. It's called I'll Be Standing By. It's a little bit more of a ballad.
Yeah. Now I got to ask you, as somebody that's played with the band, speaking of a song, All I Want to Do Is Make Love to You, I remember back in the day, people were actually kind of saying that was like a disco song. Would you consider that a disco song?
I don't want you. I'm afraid not. Not this millennium.
Yeah.
No, it was a Willie Dixon blues song. Willie Dixon was Muddy Waters.
Oh, okay.
Legendary, right? He wrote "Wanna Make Love to You."
Oh, see, now that's interesting. That's interesting. I think
back in the '40s, and he wrote it like dun 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 dun. I don't want you, dun, 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 like a typical blues song.
That's interesting because I remember that now that you kind of mentioned that scene that he wrote it. But see, that is what's kind of funny about folklore and stuff. That's one of those songs, I guess, very much like Slow Ride, that people, when they think of a band Foghat, that's one song that was on the radio and stuff at the time that people think of a Foghat song. Yet another guy wrote it years before, but very much like the Tesla song, Signs. That's not a Tesla song. That's a band. It was another band did it years before, but people hear the song Signs on the radio, they think that's a Tesla song. The band just owns it.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. And it boils back to Pat Boone singing Tutti Frutti, Little Richard, because he's African American.
Yeah.
But Pat Boone said this, hey, I helped him make a lot of money because I offered his song to an audience that he was not going to reach.
Yeah.
And, that's horrible to say.
Yeah.
And I could not imagine being alive in that time period and seeing that going on. But having let's fast forward to now, there's some hardcore truth to that. That probably Little Richard made more money because the song was exposed. And so I think exposure's the thing,
It's kind of a double, it's a double-edged.
Willie Dixon went and saw Foghat play live.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And when they met him, he goes, I just wanted to meet the fellas that made me a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean,
and I said, and it's the cutest story, and that was how Roger would say it to me. So that's how I said it to you.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the band, the LA-based Quiet Riot. They were big in the '80s, but
I know Rudy pretty good.
They did those 2 Slade covers, for example, and the drummer Frankie was telling me, Quiet Riot got the notoriety, we got the fame, and then by that time Slade, which was a little tiny glam band from England, but they'd had their heyday at that time. By the time Quiet Riot did the 2 versions of their song, and Frankie was telling me, Quiet Riot got the fame, but Slade got all the money.
Do you remember the guy's name from Slade?
I think Naughty Hodler or something like that. Yeah.
Yep. I know my Slade.
Come on.
Much a Celtic band. They were from the day of Status Quo.
And
early Uriah Heep. Ken Hensley, Uriah Heep, keyboard player. It's been a weird, twisted path, man.
And speaking of Rudy Sargent, before we wrap this up, I gotta tell you, the last thing that he played on, which you might be surprised to hear, was the latest Guess Who album. But man, he really did a decent job on there. And Rudy he's much a part of that band now as any of other guys.
The Guess Who?
Yeah, if you can believe that, check it out. My jaw hit the ground when I heard Steve Morris was playing with Deep Purple. I'm going, why? Well,
I mean, I've done shows with Steve Morris and the Dixie Dregs. Dude, that guy is out of this orbit. He's like Jeff Beck. He's just like, are you shitting me? But
he's been playing with Deep Purple since Blackmore left, like in '95 or something like that. And briefly, they before Steve Morris came in the picture, they had Joe Satriani, but Joe Satriani kind of does his own thing, and he's like, No, he goes, I had to kind of just, when I had the option to go out there and tour with the guys, but I wasn't going to be the guy that tried to replace Blackmore. But actually, Steve Morse has been in Deep Purple longer than Blackmore has now.
Well, you know, he'll never be the guy that wrote the songs, but it doesn't matter because Steve Morse, he was in Kansas.
Oh, yeah?
The guy, he's like Joe Walsh on steroids.
Yeah.
He's so good, he can join any band, and he still retains his, I'm Dick Van Dyke, you know, he still retains who he is. He isn't just some damn guitar player in that band. He's Steve freaking Morse. He's a nutty guy.
Yeah,
I met him. He's a great guy. I did shows with him and Dave LaRue and Rod Morgenstein. So when the Dixie Dregs would do a three-piece, it was Steve Morse band.
Oh, wow.
And I would do shows with those guys, and we let them use our gear and stuff. And Steve's kind of loofy, man. He comes up, starts talking to me just out of the blue about flying planes, and he's a pilot, and blah, blah, blah. Kind of like when I met Greg Allman. That was an interesting story. There's a day in itself.
Yeah. But like Blackmore, I heard he even, as much as he doesn't get along with too many people, he even praised Steve Morse. Well, I think he's the one guy that you know, he can obviously fill my shoes or whatever, but and that's, I guess, high praise.
There's a young guitar player from Thailand who lives in Boston, and he's a friend of mine, and we correspond and we do little recording things. So, like, I'll record files at my house, and right now he's working on a video of him and I.
Oh, wow.
This is worth you. He is one of the very few people Blackmore put in print quoting, you know, this guy's absolutely amazing guitar player. Then it says Richie Blackmore. Blackmore does that for nobody.
I mean, even we're talking about, you know, Joe Satriani. I mean, just amazing guitar player in his own right. But I remember even like just a couple 2-3 years ago where Blackmore was saying, you know, Joe Satriani, he's all right, but he's not my cup of tea. I'm like, oh wow, okay.
Well, you know, some people don't. You know, some people don't need the overtop Whitley stuff. You know, I mean, I don't knock it. I like technology. I like ability. I like seeing these YouTube stars playing six-string basses, playing everything they know all at once. I think it's mesmerizing. I'm not that guy, and it don't add up to a stack of shit to me. Because the bottom line is, when you get hired to play bass, they need a bass player, not a fifth guitar player.
And you know, it's kind of you know, interesting you say that because
myself.
You take a cat like
when I do little snippets. No, I'm not knocking it. I'm not knocking it either. If a guy really wants to do it, God bless you. But like, I like to play a little lick, and then I sit and I tell a little funny story about something that went on with these bands that people want to hear a little backstory. You're gonna love this one. And then I'll play a little lick, and that's it. I'm not there to show off all this or that. I don't need it. Don't want to do it. It doesn't interest me. You know, it's once again more of a people thing.
Yeah, well, I'll let you go, Jeff, but I want to thank you so much for taking time to talk to me, and we'll definitely do it again because you were just such a blast to talk to, and we could go on and on all day. But I'll let you know the minute this post, but definitely I'll be keeping in touch with you. Okay.